How's it going, guys? This is AJ with the DIY Outdoorsman. Today I wanted to make a quick video on how to fish beads. Today I'll be doing an instructional video with a fly reel and fly line, of course, but this concept works for conventional fishing, you know, steelhead, trout, whatever. It's all the same. Once you understand the basics on how to fish beads, you should be good to go on all that stuff. So yeah, let's get into it. Alright, so we'll start her off with the reel and line. I'm not going to get too much into the reel stuff right now, or my rod. This is basically just for how to rig the bead itself on your line. So this is just a Rio Avid floating line. It's a really cheap floating line. It's nothing crazy. You really don't need to worry too much about your lines when you're first getting going, especially with nymphing. It's all pretty easy stuff. So yeah, you'll have your fly line. I got a 12-pound leader here. This might be a little heavy for some of you guys fishing some smaller stuff, but I run pretty heavy gear up here for trout, and you know, because we always have steelhead and salmon in the rivers too, so I'm always running heavy. It doesn't seem to make a huge difference. So you're going to take your leader and just hook it onto the fly line here. There we go with that. After that, you go with your tippet. So typically if I'm running a 12-pound fly leader, I'm going to run a 10-pound tippet. Just something a little lighter, so that breaks before my leader does. I'll go usually, depending on the river I'm fishing, this is a pretty solid length. You're going to take up some of this tying your bead on there and tying your surgeon's knot here, but this is a pretty good length, probably, I don't know, 2 feet. Put that. Now I just tie a double surgeon's knot to the end of my leader. It's not a pretty looking knot, but it holds and it's super quick and easy to tie. I'm planning on making another video on teaching you guys how to tie these knots if that's something you're interested in. But for right now, I'm just going to tie it up quick. So I got my double surgeons. I used to tie double uni knots. They break a lot and they take twice as long. At least with this lighter stuff. Alright, so after you got your tippet tied onto your leader line, we can go ahead and slide our bead on there. Today I'll be doing a hard bead. I also have soft beads, but generally when I'm fishing for dolly varden, mostly up here, and some steelhead in the spring, I use beads, but I'm usually using hard beads. Beads on. So now we're going to go for our hooks. When I'm fishing trout, I'm generally running 6s. If there's some steelhead in the river, some bigger fish around, I'll go up to 4s. Obviously, if I'm going to go up to a 4, I'm probably going to up my bead size as well. Another reason is if you think those fish are keying in on maybe king salmon eggs or chum eggs, you know, something a little bigger, you might go up to obviously a bigger bead, and then you're going to go up to a bigger hook if you do that. But generally I'm running 6s most of the time when I'm fishing dolly varden and rainbows. So the big thing with tying this hook on is I'm going to tie a loop knot. And the reason I'm doing that, as I'll show you in a second, is so my bead never slides to my hook. Even if my my stop starts slipping, it's still not going to slide past this knot. We got our loop knot on there. See how that bead's staying above that hook? I don't even have a bead peg in there yet, but you'd have to pull on it to get it down. So the way I peg my hard beads, there's also a ton of ways to do this. You can loop your line around it a couple times to peg it. You end up getting kinks in your line that way. But I've found the cheapest and easiest way, just a good old toothpick. You just slide that in there, just like that. And just break it off. That's it, guys. And you don't need to worry about if you got a little piece of toothpick sticking out of that bead, like as you see there. It doesn't matter. You got to think about these eggs that are floating down the river. They're floating down with all sorts of other debris and stuff too. So those fish, they don't care if there's a little piece of wood next to it. They're still going to eat that bead. All right, so we got our leader line, our double surgeon's knot, going down to our bead that's pegged on the loop knot, which can't slide down at all, which is why I tie that loop knot. The other reason that, I don't know, this could just be in my head, but you have a freer hook, can just slide around on that loop. I think it makes for better hookups and keeping fish pegged longer, but I can't prove that. Alright, so after that step, we go to weight. Now when running split shots, there's a ton of different ways to do it, and it's all just matters about where you're fishing, what the river's looking like, how much flow you got. I won't get into all that, but generally I like to run 2 of these little guys right above my surgeon's knot so they can't slide down to my bead. I fish pretty small rivers up here. If I was fishing bigger rivers, I'd be running bigger split shot, obviously. But yeah, I'm fishing pretty small stuff. Alright, so there's our 2 split shot next to our surgeon's knot. And then you got about, I don't know, 1.5 feet to your bead. So this distance here is kind of important. So you got to think when this is coming down, like your split shot's sinking this. These are hitting bottom. This bead is going to be bouncing off rocks and floating up. And that's really what you want. If this is too short, say your split shot end up down here, because you are going to end up breaking your tippet, you know. It's going to shorten up. What you can do is just get rid of one of the split shot, maybe space them out farther to keep that bead off the bottom. Or, you know, just retie, make a longer leader, and go back to what you were doing before. So, I'll run 2 split shot there, and if I'm fishing really low water, that's all I'll run. If it is a little heavier and a little deeper, I'll run another one up, another foot from that. And then after that, we're really just talking indicators. So I got a half, well, let me see here. I got a 3/4 and an inch indicator here. Early season, a lot of my clients are running 5 weights, and I'll have them run just a 3/4. It's a little easier to turn over with a lighter rod and a lighter reel. Later in the season, we start getting into some bigger fish, salmon and stuff. We'll go to 1-incher. And it's a little harder for people to turn over, but you're not pulling it underwater with every rock you hit with your split shot. And when we're talking depth, the biggest mistake I see people make is fishing too deep. Fish feed up generally for the most part. So if you're dragging the bottom all the time, you're going to miss a lot of bites. Even though you might think, oh, I need to be deeper, I need to be deeper. It's important to fish probably a little shallower than you think most of the time. Now, if you're not getting bites and you know there's fish there, that's different. Then adjust your depth and find where they're at. But yeah, I generally run shallower than I think. And that's pretty much it, guys. Like, it's a super simple setup. It's cheap, and it's hard to outfish a bead, especially when salmon are spawning. It just works everywhere you go. And as far as for conventional fishing, I do a lot of conventional steelhead fishing down in Washington and up here. Been up to some of these steelhead rivers and done a lot of conventional fishing, grew up doing it. It's the exact same concept. Exactly the same. Instead of running an indicator, you're running a bobber, whether it's a fixed bobber or sliding. Same exact thing. You have your bobber, your weight, split shot, bead. And the biggest thing is just depth. Find where the fish are at. So, alright, well, thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. That helps me out a lot. And let me know in the comments what you guys want to see next. I got tons of fishing knowledge in the Pacific Northwest and Alaska. I'd love to share. And I also do a lot of hunting. Do a lot of Sitka blacktail hunting, mountain goats, elk hunting in September. Let me know, guys. I want to share what you guys want to hear. So, appreciate it.